What's going on, movie fans? Welcome to MovieRounders.com, and we're here to give you Uncut Gems. I'm Matt, Bethany, Tony, and Daniel, and we're going to start with Wilson from Home Improvement over here to my left. What'd you think of Uncut Gems?
Oh man, what a movie! Holy wow, that was amazing. I mean, I don't know, it's crazy. It's such a frantic thriller. I mean, it's really, I don't know. It's kind of like frustrating and infuriating and frantic, and it's like I say, the music was kind of like Israeli Euro trash, reggae pop. Funk maybe that was like frantic and crazy, and it just made you like nervous the whole time. During the whole movie, I was just like nervous during the whole movie, and the acting and everything was brilliant. I loved it. I thought it was great, although it was hard to watch, very hard to watch movie. So yeah,
I love Uncut Gems. Everything about it was really good. It's not an amazing movie overall, but it ticked all my boxes. It's sports, gambling. I love sports. I love gambling.
Yeah.
Adam
so
Sandler.
Person who hates spending money.
Yeah. Except in the casino.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler is phenomenal in this role. It's not something you see him do very often. When I watched Men, Women, and Children, he was really good in that. Earlier things like Rain Over Me and Punch Drunk Love, great dramatic performances in that. But I thought he was his best ever here. It's not something, like I said, it's not something you see Adam Sandler in. He just knocks it out of the park. But the whole story itself is really good. It's something that I was able to relate to because I actually remember watching those games. I don't watch a whole lot of NBA, but I remember seeing those playoff games, Kevin Garnett. And right from the very beginning, it's like, am I watching the right movie? Because it started off a little in a whole other country, and I'm like, what is going on here? But but it eventually gets there, and the pace just kept moving so nicely, and you're just rooting for this guy, but not rooting for this guy because he just can't help himself. And anybody who's a gambler knows that you just can't help yourself in those situations. And we're not going to spoil anything. No spoilers here, but this thing is just gut punch happy. It's infuriating, as Daniel said.
It's a movie.
And there were a lot of great things I liked about it. There's not many things I didn't really like about it. It checked everything for me. Bethany?
Yeah.
Well, it was a movie. This is not the movie for me. You call it a thriller, and I was just like, I would disagree. Not to say that Adam Sandler is bad. That's like my one positive takeaway from this movie is that Adam Sandler, and I'm not a big Adam Sandler person. I was talking to another friend about this today. I really only remember seeing like one Adam Sandler movie, and it was Mr. Deeds. Like that's the only one I can recall ever actually watching all the way through. Now I've probably seen some other ones that he's done, but I've never really watched Adam Sandler movies. So when I saw he was in this, I was like, so he's not doing the funny guy thing? He's just like gonna be the serious guy thing. So I'll watch it, and I was kind of excited for it, and thought it'd be really cool, and then I hated it. And I was sitting there, there's like 2 points in the movie where I just put my hands over my ears because there's so many, I mean, it's New York. Maybe that's a stereotype of New Yorkers. They just scream at each other and talk over each other the whole time. And it's just loud and it's chaotic. Yeah. And for me, it was too much. It was just, there's too much of it going on. And when you get surround sound and all that kind of stuff, it's like overstimulation almost. And
it's like overwhelming.
It drove me batty, and it made me like dislike it more and more, and like no one in that movie is likable. The only likable person is Idina Menzel's character, and she's only just likable because she's like, you're full of it, I hate you, get out of my life, please stay out of my life, that sort of thing. And no one, like, he makes just the stupidest decisions and everything. Oh, the other positive thing was The Weeknd. It was like when The Weeknd was really first like coming up into the music scene, and so I liked that little part of the movie where they include that because he is like a really popular musician and singer and rapper nowadays. And so it was really cool to kind of see him in that setting because this is set like what,
2012.
2012, So, not a fan of this movie. It's not the movie for me.
All right, Tony. We know it has language in it. Give us something else.
Well, it's rated R, so you can't put language there.
This is a hard R.
Yeah.
I hated this movie. Now, there are reasons I think what you said about the noise. The sound
Purposeful.
person should win an award for this
Yeah.
because that noise to distraction was by design to make you feel that frenetic
Yeah.
and
High tension energy.
during it
Yeah.
you hate it because
Yeah.
it is doing what it's designed to do, which is to put you on edge like fingernails on chalk. It's such a grating experience, but once I step away from the movie and I look at it as a whole and you go, they did that to make you feel the inside of the brain of a person who's addicted to gambling, addicted to risk.
You really get that with this
An
movie.
adrenaline
Yeah,
kind
you
of
do,
type
yeah.
junkie.
I really think it was meant to make you feel that craziness,
Overstimulation.
and that's what it was. It was literally, there are parts of the movie where you want to cover your ears
Or if
because
you're me, you did it.
yeah. So I mean, but it was truly by design. So from a sound standpoint, they nailed it because they truly. I mean, it was. There were a couple moments where I was like, "I'm just going to get up and walk out." I haven't walked out of a movie in a long time. I'm going to do it, but then I stayed because Adam Sandler from the acting nails it. I mean, I didn't think he had the chops. He's the goofy guy, comedy kind of thing, and he does a great job in this. There's a couple of things where he's kind of crying, where I felt was a little weak, but all in all, he is amazing in this role. I just hate the story. I don't like the sports. I'm not a fan of the gambling. I'm not a fan of the language. I'm not a fan of any person in the movie except the wife.
Exactly.
Every other person in this movie is
Is
not
elite.
a person you'd want to spend any time with ever.
That's what makes it so realistic. It's so
Maybe
real.
in that world.
Where they're shouting over each
Yeah,
other.
yeah,
and-
maybe. But it's kind of like when you've lived a lot of tragedy and sad stuff, why do you want to go watch a movie that is that sad and that tragic? Now, when I step away from it, and I've had a chance to process it, I'm like, wow, what a great movie to show you the risk and the peril of getting addicted to gambling. Because this movie shows you the highs and lows of what that can lead to. So
And the highs last like this long.
yeah. So, and how they want more. And even when they solve it, they want more, and they can't.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's not so much just the gambling. It's he had wife, he had children, he had a nice house
Everything.
that he built.
Business.
He owned his own shop, and he had people who worked for him. But it shows you that's not enough. You know, you got to
I'm
have
with you.
a girl on the side. You've got to have a hobby to do that gets you in trouble. He was a risk taker, and that's what I loved about it. It showed that
I'm with
risk
you.
can pay off, and they can kick you down real fast.
But they made this movie to be hard to watch with the sound effects, with the level of the characters. None of the characters were likable. You want to like, the character he plays, but he's such an idiot
Yeah.
that you can't because he keeps doing. You're like, no, you're like the lawyer with the other movie where you just want to shake him and go, what are you thinking? So, but in the end, when you come to the end of it, you kind of take a breath because it's so frenetic there at the end, and you kind of get, and then it's like, when I walked out, I'm like, thank goodness that's over.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah. And there is a moment, which if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like, when it happens, my jaw just, like,
Oh, yeah.
dropped. I was like,
yeah.
Yeah.
oh my God.
But if you pay attention to those moments when that happens, all that frenetic sound stops,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that
Sweet
weight
relief.
of all that craziness drops away, and that's great sound design the way they did that.
Yeah.
But
Let me give you this too. Like, you know how chaotic his life was and all the characters in the thing. Think about like how he had all these stops in place, like those doors. He had like not only one door that you had buzz in, but two, and then another one like for everything. It's just like you're in his chaotic mind, and these doors and buzzers and barriers are the only thing that's keeping that man sane
And
because
it's so
it's just
annoying when
crazy.
like they're stuck, the buzzer isn't
Yeah.
working, and there's like and they're like yelling at each other, and
Yeah.
he's yelling, and I was like, oh.
so and that's
layering.
great because it was
Yeah.
designed to make
Tension.
you feel
Yeah.
that way, and they nailed that part. I hated it,
Yeah.
but they nailed it because that's
Yeah.
what they were going for.
Yeah,
So,
and you're just like,
but
someone take
but
it.
nothing about
Switch
the
it.
story was that I like, other than it teaches you the perils of becoming addicted to something like gambling. So if I can find one little gem to highlight this thing, it is in the long run a great story about to learn to be happy with what you have and not be such, and not get into the whole gambling addiction thing, because it's interesting to see what it ends up doing to that person's sphere of influence, his people, his family, his everything. And so I mean, but you got to get through the language, you got to get through this crazy soundtrack sound effect thing that you're doing to get to that one little nice little gem. But, but for me, I other than that, I hated it. So
Daniel, what would you rate it?
Okay, this is really hard because it's like, to me, I'm not just looking at the craziness, the frantic. I'm looking at the layering, what it took to pull this movie off. They had The Weeknd, they had Kevin Garnett, they had all of these people, and they mixed real life with story, with reality, which is a fake story. This isn't a real, true story. But if you watch it, you'd almost think, my God, this is a documentary about somebody. But it's not.
And see, I'm such not a sports person. I had no clue that was a real basketball player playing
and a real game.
I had none of that. I was like, wow, they faked a really good thing. But no, they were using actual footage from a real game. So I didn't even have that going for me. I
would have to say, because of that, I have to give this a 5. I mean, to me, this movie was frantic, but it was brilliant.
You didn't even give Joker a 5, did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I thought it was brilliant, just because technically pulling all that off and making a person crazy sitting in their seat, because I'm sitting there going, I hate this freaking soundtrack, music, whatever. I'm just going nuts. But yeah, to do that, to me, I have to respect the chaos factor. I mean, the chaos was so high, it moved me emotionally, and it made me irritable sitting in my seat. If a movie can do that, it deserves 5 stars.
If it can make you irritable.
Yes, because I get
it
sucked
can make
in.
me despise it while I'm watching it. Good job.
I have to respect that.
The movie sent me on an emotional roller coaster. I love the highs, love the lows. It had just about everything I like in a movie: sports, gambling, realistic performances. So it's gonna get a 4 out of 5 stars for me. Not quite over the peak, but it was definitely worth watching again, and I really liked it.
You could not pay me.
Oh yeah.
To watch it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, aside from everything else, just the noise thing they did. I don't know if I could.
Bethany?
I give it a 1.5. I'm not a fan of this one. I rate it a lot lower, but I'm not a fan of this. I give it, a point, half a point for Adam Sandler, because he he is what makes the movie.
Yeah.
Period. Like, if you didn't have Adam Sandler, and I think that is part of like his comedy background, is like he's just used to that frenetic sort of energy. Like, if you had anybody else besides him, I don't think that it.
They wrote it for him.
Yeah.
They wrote the movie for him to act in.
Literally, or like okay, yeah, like this is for him. Like, no one else could carry this movie and done this movie as well as him. And I think, like, if it had been anyone else, I might have actually liked the movie, just because he pulls the character off. Like, he nails that character. So I'll give it a point for that, and I give it like a half point for the sound mixing. But other than that, like, it's not a movie I would want to watch again. It's not a movie that I would sit through if my dad pulled it up on TV and started watching it, just because.
I'd be like, I'm out.
Yeah, it just, it's like.
Yeah.
Tony?
1.5. I'm right there with her. I mean, it's like, because Adam Sandler, purely looking at an acting standpoint, is great in this.
Yeah.
And the acting that the rest of the people do, I never got caught up in thinking that it didn't feel right, or the acting is amazing. But I hated the story. I hate the sound effects that they did. I don't like sports. I don't like gambling. I don't like the language. So nothing about it was, but it is, in the end, it has an undercurrent message that is a good message. That if truly a person addicted to gambling watches this, you might make them go, dang, whoa.
Let's reevaluate.
I need to take a pause here. and hey, if it does that, it deserves the 1.5 I'm giving it. But that's the best I can do.
All right, well, that's our review of Uncut Gems. What did you think? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, watch us here at MovieRounders.com, where we review the movie and you control the camera.